Well, good day, everyone. It's Betting Weekly live on Thursday, the 19th of December. You with Steve Wiss, and I'm joined by James Eastham for the conclusion of the UEFA Conference League group stage for this season. We've got EFL Cup as well alongside Coppa Italia. James, I'm sure your juices are flowing for this conference showdown.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you, Steve. Yeah, quite emotional, isn't it? We've been through the group stage on these Thursdays. And we were just talking before we came on air about the fact that we both feel this competition has been a successful addition to the roster of European tournaments, hasn't it? I was saying to you, Steve, wasn't I? I was skeptical about this tournament when it was introduced, but it's been really good for some of the smaller teams across Europe. And there's still plenty to play for, isn't there? So there's lots of games today with genuine, interesting outcomes hanging on them.
Yeah, I think it's been a really good addition, and I think they were wise to only have 6 group games rather than the 8 that the Champions League are doing. And if you embrace it, it's good. And of course, from a betting perspective, we're always interested in matches. There's always edges to be found, and it's been really good to see some of the top teams approach the tournament quite professionally as well. This season, not disrespecting it like sometimes it has been when Europa League was sort of 5 years ago. Welcoming everyone: Rick Haley, Player Cam Duncan, Ming Chung, Simon as well, and Buelo Charles. Great to see you as well as Donatus. Welcome in. What's your best bet today, guys? We're going to be going through every single Conference League game in some form. At least one line will be given on every match. We've gone through the card, both of us. But we are going to start off with cup action, because probably the biggest game of the day is actually in England. Tottenham against Manchester United. And I think this, for once, the EFL Cup actually excites me, James, because the semi-finals could be quite spicy, potentially. We've already got 3 big names in the hat, and one of these two is going to join them. And both these teams could do with a trophy, let's be honest. Tottenham, definitely need a trophy, full stop. It's been a while. Manchester United, Ruben Amorim, I've got to think he's going to target a piece of silverware before the end of this season to try and get his reign up and running there in Manchester. Spurs now plus 125, actually. They've been backed in. What are you expecting in this sort of game? As we always say with cups, the lineups are really crucial, and it might be wise to wait for them, but I'd imagine both are going to go fairly strong here.
Well, I think that's the first thing to say, actually, Steve, is on the motivation. There's absolutely no question for me that both of these teams will be properly motivated. A piece of silverware for the top teams who are unlikely to win the Premier League has to be taken seriously. Both of these teams obviously fall into that category this season. So I'm expecting both teams to be fully motivated. It's always great when you've got you got a big cup game where both teams are plus money, isn't it? It makes it a harder call. It's obviously a game between 2 well-matched sides, and I think that's what we will get. Now, you've mentioned team news. It is difficult to know exactly how it will play out before we get the teams. The news that we do have is that from the media, is that both teams are likely to go fairly strong. We don't know that for sure. So some people will want to wait for the team news, but I tend to think they will be quite strong. If you're Manchester United, just think about Ruben Amorim and the players around him and the staff around him. It's still so early in his reign. They're going to want to take every single game seriously, aren't they? People are trying to impress him. He's trying to get things in place. And, there's a potential trophy at the end of this game. So not the end of the game, but, they're going for a trophy. So I cannot see a single reason why it won't be a super competitive match. Not one of these games where you'll have difficulty reading the motivation. The team news is something slightly different. People will obviously have their own views about how important that is. But yeah, really fascinating match between 2 managers who, for various different reasons will be taking this seriously. I think the prices look about right. You've said that Tottenham have been backed in a bit there, and they're favourites, which you would kind of expect. But I think it will be a competitive match, and I can't really see anything on the money line because to me they look just about right at the moment.
Nigel Seeley has a pick in this game on the newsletter, which was released on Monday. Remember, you can subscribe to the Betting Weekly newsletter. I'll put the link on one of the comments in a minute. But I thought Nigel made some pretty good pretty good points actually about the game. Obviously, both could do with some silverware, but Manchester United perhaps there's less pressure on them a little bit. Spurs, there's just a lot of intensity around Ange at the minute. He made that claim earlier in the season that he always wins something in season 2. And, he's got to back that up here. Someone made a point about Spurs' injuries. They have been struggling, and I think a lot of it is to do with how they play. We know it's in your face, intense. There was a lot of injuries last season as well. I think Amorim, his new style he's brought to Man United, they pass the ball an awful lot between that back three, James. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Take the sting out of the game a bit. And that would perhaps go towards your lean here for the game.
Yeah.
Not an official pick, but a lean for the game.
It's a lean. I'm leaning towards unders on this game, which might be a bit counterintuitive for people. There are injuries. Tottenham are going to be below strength in defence. We know that. And there are concerns about the Manchester United defence at the moment because obviously the new manager has brought in a new way of playing and the players are getting used to it. Amorim has also made changes, hasn't he, to the actual personnel in the back three from game to game to game. But I quite like unders simply because the line was set a little bit higher than I thought here, actually. Under 3.25 goals is at minus 117. I think that's not too bad. I think there will be not really nerves, but I don't expect, although I expect both teams to be fully motivated, I don't think that means they will go flat out to try to outscore the opposition. I think it might be a little bit cagier than maybe that line on the goals is expecting. So it's only a lean for me, but I think under 3.25 goals at minus 117, meaning you'll make a profit if there are 3 goals or fewer on the game. That would be my lean. But as I say, a lot of people will want to wait for team news on this and see exactly how they line up. We do know Tottenham have got those injuries, and United, Amorim might use this as a chance to look at 1 or 2 players who possibly wouldn't start if it was, a massive game in the league.
Yeah, my lean would be Man United actually on the Tino bet at plus 112. This match, I do believe, would go straight to penalties if it's level after 90 minutes. Is that the rules? The rules change so much with the penalties in extra time now in these cups across Europe, so I'm not entirely sure. But that would be my lean. I think Manchester United are in a little bit of a better phase than Spurs and might be a little bit fresher as well. Just looking through the comments, good day to Reese Williams. Why are the Conference League games tonight and the others go till January? Just a 6-game card, Reese, rather than 8. I'm not actually sure why UEFA did that. That'd be a good question for UEFA. Manuel, if we have time later on, we will talk about Coupe de France. Remind me that later, Lens PSG this weekend. Duncan says he fancies United tonight. Good to see you, Ray. Ian as well. Both teams scoring over 2.5, he says. Peter, always great to see you here as well. Steve Greer, can't tell if Easton's American or English. Strong Day of the Jackal. I binge watched that series last week, Day of the Jackal. Quite good, actually. Well worth a watch. Dark Side. Now, this is what we want to see. He is from Bialystok, and some inside info about the game. Jagiellonia against Olimpija. The club will share money for host win and get into the top 8. They will get 25%, a nice bonus before Christmas. Is that the players? Or what's this about? Is the players are going to get 25% bonus, Dark Side? Love the name, by the way, as well. And I think the Premier League show will be updated today, Reese. Intemperate Judge, his lean is Rashford to score. I mean, Rashford's in the headlines. Is he going to be given a game here? Is he going to be given some minutes here? Let's see. Straight to penalties if it's level. Yeah, I mean, I think this could maybe be a penalty shootout, potentially. But I think Manchester United would be my lean there. Coppa Italia then. Inter against Udinese here. What do you think about this game, James? I know you've been following Serie A a lot recently. Yesterday, there was some good in the comments. I think a couple of people were on Juventus nicely on the handicap. And this is another Italian Cup match. Udinese, I mean, we were talking about on today's show. We recorded, it'll be out tomorrow. I mean, I think they're nothing remarkable. But Inter, I mean, real short price favourites here, knocking on the minus $4 mark. How do you see it going? You've got a lean as well, just a shot lean here.
Yeah, a shot lean. Well, this is almost the polar opposite of the game we've just talked about in terms of not so much motivation, but rotation. I think there could be a lot of rotation here from both teams. So in the end, it might even out. Inter are obviously really short price favourites, which you would fully expect if both teams were at full strength. Maybe they'll both rotate the same amount and that price still makes sense, but we just don't know at this stage. I have seen some reports that they will rotate, they being both teams. But then you never know. A manager might spring a surprise, whether Udinese go a bit stronger and try and get something if they think Inter are going to rotate. So it's a hard one to call in that sense. As I say, the prices do make quite a lot of sense, don't they, given how dominant Inter should be in a game like this. I obviously backed against Udinese last weekend on the weekly show. I backed Napoli to beat them, which they did without too much trouble. They are a fairly moderate side from what I've seen this season. So I think if Inter went strong and took the game seriously, then I think it would be extremely difficult for Udinese to get anything, but we just don't know. So I've left the main markets alone for this game, just because I'm uncertain about the impact that team news might have. I picked out a player in the over 0.5 shots on target market, and this player is Arthur Atta, A-T-T-A, of Udinese, to have over 0.5 shots on target. Now, he might not start. This isn't a player who starts in Serie A for them. We know him from the French league. They got him from the French club Metz, where he wasn't even a regular there, but he was a highly rated graduate from their youth academy. And he is a player that can get forward and get into scoring positions. Now, he doesn't always get picked in the team in the position to do that, but if he is given a run out tonight, which he might be, if they rotate, he might be, then Arthur Atta is worth a look, because he is available in the over 0.5 shots on target market at plus 380. Now, still a big ask for him to have a shot on target against, a very good Inter side. This is a very young player, one that doesn't start very often, but I just feel that if you look through the prices at the moment, players are really priced up as they would be for a really important game where the manager might not rotate. And that means this price, the minute he's picked in the team, if he is picked, might start to look quite big. So, yeah, that's my shout on the game. It's a lean. It's, as I say, Arthur Atta isn't a regular starter. He might not start tonight, even if they rotate. But if he does start, I do think a price of plus 380 on him starts to look quite big.
Yeah, a James Eastham signature bet there on the shots on target market. Arthur Atta, I did put him on the screen a moment ago. Plus 380 may well be worth a bit of pizza money there. If he doesn't start the game, it will be a refund of your stakes. I mean, my personal opinion of this game is that if Inter want it, they win well, really, because Udinese and nothing special. The handicap's -1.5, though. And the goal line's at over 3. So I suppose if you're going to be looking at that, you've got to decide whether you think Udinese are going to score a goal. If you think Udinese are going to score, then you're better off taking the over 3 goals market, really. If you don't think they're going to score, into handicap or win to nil. Someone suggested Inter win to nil there. Donatus likes Inter win to nil. And Simon says maybe a little bit less rotation from Inter as they don't play until Monday. Dark Side, thanks for clearing that one up. The players are going to get a nice bonus. So when we talk about that game, I actually do predict a win for the Polish team. As my cat gets involved, he's coming to say hello. He likes a bit of Inter win to nil as well. Right, now we're going to get right into the meat of it, James. The UEFA Conference League final round. We've got a bunch of matches to look at here. I've picked out 4 sort of highlight fixtures to start with, where I think there's probably more at stake here. There's more interest in these games than some of the other ones. Cercle Brugge, Chelsea, Vitoria, Guimaraes, and the Heidenheim game. I'm actually going to start us off with a bet in Cercle Brugge against Istanbul, Basaksehir. They served me well in the last round when I backed them against Heidenheim. And I'm a little bit maybe a bit overpriced here, but it's the goal line that I'm interested in. Over 3 goals is plus money for this game at plus 115. It's a little bit of an ABBA game. Winner takes it all, James, here.
Yes.
Istanbul, if you look at the table, they're just right on the cusp of qualification, 24th position, 5 points on the board. Basically, they've got to win to stay there. Draw probably isn't going to be enough for them.
Yeah.
So it's win or nothing, win or go home. And then at the other end of the spectrum, Cercle Brugge are in 7th place. So they've got to win to stay in the top 8. Draw's not going to do anything here for them. So when that happens, when at a certain point in this game, at least one team's going to get desperate. I'm very interested in backing the over goal. So over 3 goals. This could go crazy over if the two teams just kind of swing hard. But I mean, don't underestimate these Turkish side. They're not that bad. I've seen them a few times this year, and they've got goals in them. And I think if they need to win with 10 minutes to go, we could get the keeper going forward and everything. For me, over 3 Asian goals, that would be a strong bet of me today. Cercle Brugge against Istanbul Basaksehir. Let's go back to the card here. Chelsea against Shamrock Rovers. Chelsea minus 2,000. Chelsea top of this league. They're going to be in the top 8. They've got to win the game. They've got to draw the game pretty much to guarantee top spot. Shamrock Rovers, if they won the game, they would actually probably would finish in the top 8, which would be a huge shock, obviously, around about a 30-1 mark here. I mean, you've been all over Chelsea in this Conference League, and I suspect you're not going to desert them today. Yeah. It's the same spiel again, isn't it? Shamrock Rovers, though. I mean, how much of a resistance you expect the League of Ireland side to put up here in West London?
Well, the first thing we should say about them is they have done really well, haven't they? Their results have been great. They're unbeaten. Our Shamrock Rovers in their 5 games so far, which, that would have been a surprise, I think, to some people. 3 wins and 2 draws. And they're away from home tonight, obviously, against Chelsea. Well, they did get a point away in Austria against Rapid Vienna, and they won it away to Larne, who are obviously a much, much weaker side than Chelsea. So they do have something to play for because, as you say, they've got a chance of finishing in the top 8. Chelsea, on the other hand, they've qualified. You could say when teams qualify, they're going to rotate, aren't they? Well, Chelsea are already rotating in this competition. We know that. I mean, it's a Chelsea B team who've just run roughshod through this competition, been excellent so far. I don't personally think the fact Chelsea have already qualified makes that much difference to their quality that they should be able to show tonight, because they are much the better side. So I'm backing Chelsea here. I've had great success supporting them on the Asian handicap in this competition this season. I'm backing them minus 2.75 on the Asian handicap at minus 114. So you need Chelsea to win the game by 3 goals in order to make a profit. But you know what, Steve? I think that price and that line has already got built into it the fact that there's not as much at stake for Chelsea as there is for Shamrock Rovers. And I just think that, Chelsea would be almost disappointed, I think, if they didn't win this by 3 goals, because they know they're good enough to. They've obviously done that at home already in this competition when they beat Noah 8-0. They beat Ghent at home 4-2. So they didn't clear a 3-goal handicap on that occasion, but arguably Ghent are a much stronger side than Shamrock Rovers as well. I just think it's set up for Chelsea to finish on a high here, and some people may dispute that because of the motivational factor. Will they really care? I just think the quality over the 90 minutes will be good enough. And one other thing to say, we're obviously expecting a weaker Chelsea side as ever in this competition relative to what they put out in the Premier League. They will still have players on the bench tonight who will want to impress if they get onto the pitch. So I can just see them playing through the tape, and I think a 3-goal win, well within their reach. So that's my pick. It's Chelsea minus 2.75 on the Asian handicap, and it's available at minus 114.
Yeah, I actually think Chelsea, nothing changes here for them. It's a different side in the Conference League. They want to put on a show for the fans. And if this got a really big win, I wouldn't be shocked. Well done to Shamrock Rovers for having a great campaign, but I've looked at their fixture list. It's been pretty soft. I mean, I'm not sure beating Northern Ireland and Welsh teams really carries a lot of weight. You've got to beat what's in front of you, don't get me wrong. But this is a huge test. I was just looking at the player props market. Mark Gui, is that how you pronounce him? He's been pretty much rolled out in this competition. Scored a brace of goals against Astana. Got on the score sheet against Noah, who didn't. He's plus 480 to score 2 or more goals here in this match. Yeah. And I think if he's the starter, a brace of goals is very, very much within his wheelhouse. Yeah. Plus 480. And I think because he doesn't get much minutes in other games, he's probably going to last about 75, 80 here. Yeah. So I would be definitely looking at Mark Gui for 2 or more goals as a prop bet. And the handicap, you've been all over this handicap for Chelsea in the Conference League. And I see no reason why it would need to change. We've got a match here. Heidenheim St. Gallen. This is my newsletter pick for the week. I tipped up over 3.5 goals on Sunday evening, and it was released on Monday. You got plus 125 back then. It's now plus 112. And I just think, again, I'm just going to explain it. I did it in the newsletter, but there should be a lot of goals in this game. A win is worth its weight in gold for both sides. And basically, Heidenheim, their defence has been atrocious. St. Gallen, anyone who looks at their fixtures in this competition, it's been unbelievable. I think they conceded nearly 20 goals in 5 games. Been an absolute glutton of goals in their matches. This should be a shootout. Don't know who's going to win it. Heidenheim are minus 177. I wouldn't trust them. I actually think they probably will win because I think St. Gallen, you watch them playing this, they're just so wide open. They're taking so many risks. They're basically enjoying themselves. Why not? Why not have some fun? But St. Gallen have to win to have any chance of qualifying. So they're going to be going for it fully hard here. And I think just forget Asian lines here, over 3.5 on the total at plus 112 now it is. I still think anything evens or more is very much worth taking in that game. Vitoria, Guimaraes against Fiorentina here. Portuguese side, well-coached Portuguese side, it must be added. Fiorentina plus 108 favourites. Last time they were on the road in this competition, they came unstuck in Cyprus. This is an interesting fixture. I'm sure quite a lot. I mean, a lot of people back Fiorentina blind in this Conference League, James, for good reason. Yeah. Got a great record in it. You're looking into the side markets here for a couple of prop bets again.
Yeah, I am, because, again, there might well be rotation in this game. We don't know that for sure, but Fiorentina have rotated fairly heavily in this competition, and credit to them for that, because a bit like Chelsea, albeit not quite on the same level, it's paid off, hasn't it? Because they're near the top. I think Vitoria Guimaraes fans will look at this and think, hang on a minute, why are we such underdogs here? You know, they are second, aren't they? In the standings at the moment, they've actually got one more point on the board than Fiorentina. So it's a little bit strange that they're such a big price, you know, well over plus 200 to win the game at home to a Fiorentina side that might rotate. Having said that, Steve, as you pointed out on the last game with Shamrock Rovers, last game I did, that is, you know, sometimes these league positions can be misleading if you just look at the win, lose, draw. You've got to look at who they've played and what those teams did. So there's an awful lot of work really to get to the bottom of just how good teams are when they face off in the Conference League. But all of that uncertainty, that's what led me to the prop bets. As I say, Fiorentina, they have rotated in this competition, and I quite like some of the players who they've brought into their side. I think they're great shouts in some of the prop bet markets. So I've picked out 2 players here in the anytime goal scorer market, who I do think are worth a look. The first is Jonathan Ikone. The second is Amir Richardson. So I'll talk a little bit more about those 2. They're both players who've come out of the French league. Jonathan Ikone was a PSG player, and at Lille he's ended up at Fiorentina. Not quite gone as well as he would have liked, I think, when he joined them. He's not a regular starter for them in Serie A. But he has got a run out in this competition, and we have seen him scoring recently. They beat LASK 7-0 in their last home game in this competition. Ikone started and was on the score sheet in that match, and he's a fairly capable attacking midfielder or winger. He can finish when he gets into positions. He's available at plus 295 to score. So he'd be one player to look at. And the second, as I say, is Amir Richardson, who has gone over to Fiorentina from the French league last summer. He was playing for Reims in France. A tall midfielder who can get forward, gets into good scoring positions as well. Again, he might well rotate into the side if Fiorentina choose to rotate. He was also on the score sheet in that 7-0 win over LASK. So he'll fancy his chances as well if he starts. He's 480 to get on the score sheet today. So listen, it's asking a lot for them both to score if they rotate into the team. But I think if you are looking for a player prop bet, you could do a lot worse than maybe splitting your stakes on this game across Jonathan Ikone and Amir Richardson to score. And then if one of them gets on the score sheet, you're going to make a profit. But look out for them. A lot of markets, again, don't take into account the rotation. So you might not find the shots on target markets and things like that. I'd probably rather do that. It wasn't available when we were pricing up the games for the show today. But look out for them, because as I say, the general gist of things with Fiorentina has been rotation in this competition. And Ikone and Richardson, they'll have their own reasons to be motivated here, because as I say, they're not regulars in the team in big games in Serie A. So it's a real chance for players like that to shine. And I just feel that if they rotate in, a bit like what we've seen at Chelsea, then they're two players who can stand out. So for me, on the Vitoria Guimaraes Fiorentina game, I'd rather be looking at some of these player prop bets than I would at the mainline markets, because I'm just not sure at the moment how strong these teams are going to be.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, in terms of league position, it's second against third. So this is a good game. I mean, Vitoria Guimaraes are pretty much guaranteed nearly a spot in the final eight. A draw would probably suit both here, actually. But team lineups will be crucial. Paul Laguna with a teaser there for the NFL at the weekend. Paul Laguna's been great form. With again, some of the comments that we've had on the show in the last couple of weeks have been some really good winners and information. Truton 73 there. Lecce Warsaw depleted at Djurgården today. We're going to go through all. There's still 14 more matches to discuss, and we're going to have a line on each game. So as we go through them, if you've got any thoughts about matches and bets for the games, then do let us know. I've got one more official match bet, and I've got a 3-leg parlay as well to throw in, a 4-leg parlay at the end for you, like I did last week. Won easily with the parlay that I did in the Conference League last week. But yeah, this is where we get into the real meat and grind of it now. And Simon, yes, we are going to talk about that match. Omonia with the draw being very, very short. But let's get into it then. We've kind of split the games a little bit. We've got a ton of fixtures on there. Panathinaikos against Dinamo Minsk. This is the match which I looked at. I'm going to predict a 2-0 win for Panathinaikos. No bet on the game, no even lean on the game. Main reason is because their position in the table makes it questionable to me how motivated they're going to be against a Minsk side who I don't really rate them, but they've still got things to fight for. I mean, they're actually 12-1 here. It'd be a big shock if they got a result. But for me, Panathinaikos at minus 530 now, and the handicap's around about the -2 mark. Very happy to leave that game alone. Hearts against Petroclub. We've got a Scottish team against Moldovan outfit here. I've actually added Hearts as part of my parlay later, James. You've had a look at this game. How do you think it'll go?
I've had a look at this game. I think Hearts are a good bet here, Steve. They're quite short to win the game, obviously minus 360. I quite like them on the Asian handicap. They're available at minus 104 with a minus 1.5 goal start on the Asian handicap. So you need them to win by a couple of goals for that to pay off. But they've already won by a couple of goals at home in this competition already this year. They beat Ammonia Nicosia at home 2-0. And, they're playing a Petroclub side tonight who are Petroclub are out of it. They're eliminated. They're next to bottom. Yet there's no reason for them to be really up for this match. So Hearts can still qualify through the playoffs. Plenty to play for. I just think, the price, as I say, may be good for a parlay, like you're saying, Steve, to add Hearts in there because they should get the win. But I think on the Asian handicap, minus 1.5, pretty much even money there, minus 104. That would be my pick on this game.
Yeah, I'm expecting Hearts to win reasonably well. It's difficult sometimes trusting Scottish teams outside the old firm in Europe, and their actual domestic form is a bit sketchy. But we've got to explain Petroclub are not a very good side. They're coming a long way, and I think it'd be a surprise if they got anything here. We're going to go back to the board here now. Yes, the match that Darkside mentioned, Jagiellonia Bialystok against Olimpija Ljubljana. Poland against Slovenia here. My prediction for the game was a 2-1 win for Jagiellonia. It's one of those games where a draw won't really be any good for either side. A win's worth its weight in gold. But based on what Darkside said in the comments about the bonus that the Polish side Jagiellonia are going to get here, I wonder if they've got to be a better plus 112 to beat the Slovenian outfit. It's been all right, actually. Whenever I've seen, they are the Polish champions, by the way. Whenever I've seen them, I mean, they beat Molde convincingly. I watched that game. And if they win this match, there's a strong likelihood that they will be in the top 8. Not guaranteed, but very strong likelihood. Against the Ljubljana side, who look destined for sort of the playoff round, 14th spot. Even if they win, they're probably not going to get in the top 8. So I think Darkside, along with that information that he produced, plus 112 on Jagiellonia could be a good bet. And we're going to get to that draw soon. A few people mentioning the Ammonia game. Real Betis against HJK. James, this was a match that you had a look at. Real short price favourite, Real Betis. But do they really need to win this game?
Yeah, they are very short, aren't they? Minus 770. They're in there, aren't they? They're in the mid-table, really, aren't they? 17th position out of the 36 teams at the moment, so they're competing to go through. HJK are outside the playoff positions at the moment, but can still get into the playoff positions. So I don't know. I thought they were a little bit short, minus 770. I certainly don't think anybody would be backing them at that price, but it means that the handicap, if anything, I would lean toward HJK. They're available with a plus 2.25 goal start at minus 137. I would probably leave this game alone, but on the handicap line, I'd rather be on HJK at plus 2.25 goal start than I would on Betis on the other side of that, because Betis to go on and win it by 3 goals or more, they don't need to, and there's been no real evidence of them doing that so far in the competition either. They haven't really impressed. As I say, they're in mid-table. They've only scored 5 in 5. So I'd rather be on HJK on the handicap. I think it's a bit harsh is the price that Betis are on HJK. They can probably make a bit more of a game of it, I think, than the market is suggesting here.
Yeah, and the match arguably means more to HJK. They can still qualify for the final, for the playoff round, but they've got to win the game. So normally they just go away from home and they park the bus and just get beat to 0 and try and avoid getting an absolute pasting. But they do have some motivation to win the game. So I wonder if at some point they might open up. Real Betis already got 7 points. Yeah. It's quite a low tally. I mean, by now a Spanish team should have qualified already. So I think that they've been really slacking this competition. They've lost to some weird places, like Mlada Boleslav, for example, things like that. Only just beat Petroclub 1-0 away. So I think they're a bit slack, Betis. I think they'd take a point here and move on, and then take it maybe a bit more seriously in the playoff round. So the HJK handicap, for those who are brave, could be a good call. What else have we got here? Celje against the New Saints. For me, this is a clear home win, really. The Slovenian side against TNS. Welsh outfit, who I think they're not eliminated, but it's a good chance that they will be. I mean, they've got to win to have any chance. But the Slovenian side, Celje, they're just outside the bubble on 4 points. If they win, they're probably in. If they win the game, they're probably in. But they're looking at handicaps here. I've added this team to my parlay later on. The minus 335 on the money line. The Asian handicap's minus 1.5, which I'm always a bit dubious of when a team just has to win. That 1.5 handicap always kind of worries me a little bit. But they should be beating Welsh opponents at home. They've had some good win. They beat Istanbul 5-1 at home. They've got a lot of goals in them. Quite a wide open team. I would expect a home win here. Steve Taylor 3-1. That is exactly the scoreline I'm predicting for this game. So we're very much in alignment there, Steve. Next match is Backa Topola against Noah, who famously got beaten big in Chelsea, of course. This is a match that you looked at, James. Do you see any angle here?
Yeah, not really. So you got Serbia here hosting Armenia. So they're on exactly the same number of points. And they've got identical records. These two sides, 1 win, 1 draw, 3 defeats each. Noah obviously are massively hamstrung in a sense with the heavy defeat at Chelsea means that, their goal difference is vastly inferior to a lot of sides. Both can still qualify. We should say that they're not in the best of positions. They're outside the playoff positions at the moment, but they can still get there. Noah would need probably a few more things to go in their favour because they're -9 on the goal difference at the moment. So I thought the price is probably about right. You've got two teams with plus money prices here because there's not a lot to pick between them. TSC, obviously the favourites, you'd expect that plus 125, but it's going to be a shootout, I would imagine, in terms of the way the two teams play. They might as well go for it because they need to win it to try to scrape into the playoffs, and then they need other results going in their favour as well. So, I saw the scoreline prediction come up there, 2-1. That would make a lot of sense to me, but there was nothing for me, generally speaking, on the goals markets or on the top line, money line market here. It was a game to leave alone for me.
Yeah, this is an ABBA match, isn't it? Winner takes it all, literally. You could look at the goals, over 3 at -104, but I think the goal line's factored it in, really. If this was a 2.5 goal line, I probably would have been very interested, James, to be fair. But a draw's no use here. Someone's got to win the game. Let's see how this one goes. LASK Linz. Oh, they had a nightmare, didn't they, last time out? They really did. This looks, on the face of it, a big price to beat Icelandic opposition at home, but Vikingur Reykjavik have been surprisingly decent in this competition.
Yeah.
Is that -137 on the last Linz worth taking, do you think?
I personally don't think it is. No, I mean, this is a team who are still looking for their first win in the competition. They've drawn 2, they've lost 3. Viking are well above them in the standings. The visitors here are 19th, LASK Linz the 34th. So I think that minus money, it reflects really the fact they have to win. They're outside the qualifying positions at the moment. They can still get through. It would take a remarkable combination of results really for them to do it, but they're probably going to go all out to try to do that. And of course, the visitors are from Iceland, and they've only really been playing in this competition now for quite a while, haven't they? So they're not really in the regular rhythm of league games. And at some point, you do think that will make a difference. They might look at it and think, well, we've got lots of points on the boards. We've done quite well. Let's just see what sort of resistance we can put up here and try and get something from it rather than try and win it. So maybe that's what it's about. But we just got the message coming up there about LASK's form as well. I was really surprised when I saw this price. So if anything, I would be looking for a way to oppose them. Obviously, they might go all out and get the win they need to see if they can squeeze through. But there's nothing really for me looking at them about their form that would suggest that they justify being -137. Really surprised. That would, for me, make it a game to leave alone rather than get with the opposition. But I would be talking people out of backing the home team here.
I wonder if the under's worth looking at here, because I think Vikingur will come here and park the bus, really, get the point they need to qualify. I think they've probably already got enough points. So the last thing they want to do is take a big beating as well. So goal difference could be important for them here. I did watch their last away game against Noah, and it was a really poor game. It was low scoring. Got to wonder how much motivation LASK might have. They've been really poor, haven't they? As you said, in the competition, an outrageously poor form overall. That -137, you couldn't really touch that with a barge pole, could you? Let's move into the next set of matches then. I'm actually going to go straight into this draw that everyone's been banging on about. Borac Banja Luka against Omonia Nicosia. And there's a strong perception here. I'm a little bit surprised we haven't got more of these games, actually. It might happen in time, perhaps in Europa League, even Champions League, but the tie is at +130, which is obviously a really short price for a tie. The main reason is it would appear to look as if it did end a draw, then both teams would qualify. I mean, certainly in the case of Borac, that will be enough for them, you would imagine. If Omonia get the point, they've got a 0 goal difference, then it looks likely. And on this instance, I do think it will be a draw. I just think, we don't use the word fixed or arranged, but I just think the mentality of the teams is don't lose. And they're going to go pass the ball around, low tempo. And this could be 0-0. I think the under 2 goal line was one I was looking at here, because it covers the 0-0 and the 1-1. But yes, in answer to the question, I do believe this will be played out into a tie, because it just simply suits both teams. And why would you go for it with 10 minutes to go if it's level? +130, is that a bet? I don't really know. I'm not really an expert betting on these sort of draws, but I do think it will end a draw. So let's see. Have you got an opinion on these arranged draws that have happened down the years? And we say arranged, but it's just like the teams know what they need to do.
Well, I think it's hard, isn't it, for players when you know that that's going to suit you, and you're not even thinking about the opposition, are you? You're just thinking about yourselves. I think what happens is players think about themselves and their own team, and if you have a situation where both teams know that a draw's good enough for them, they don't care what the opposition are looking for. They're just trying to do what they need to do, which I fully understand, really. So, it's a tricky situation. Don't see it so much, do we, these days? I mean, teams are quite positive generally for other reasons at times and all the rest of it. And obviously, because football is a bit more higher scoring in many ways now than if you go back 30 years, often a team will take the lead and then it becomes more of a game anyway, almost by default, doesn't it? So it's a tricky thing. We've said it before about this. It's such a complex situation because you've got so many teams in the group stage. It's really important to do your due diligence on teams and what they're looking for and work out. I mean, trying to work out what teams need to get into the playoffs if they're outside the playoffs, etc. There's so many teams playing at the same time, then the variables are almost impossible to count. So it's tricky, really, really tricky. If two teams come up against each other and they both need a draw, will it affect the way the game gets played out? Probably. But we talked, didn't we, this morning, Steve, on the weekly show? You can have a goal go in by mistake, or a defender can make an error, or a particular player. You can have a penalty, and everything all of a sudden changes, and it becomes a different game. So, yeah, it's tricky. I totally understand why people try and read ahead, and motivation's obviously crucial. But it's certainly not something we see as much as we used to, is it, in the past?
Yeah, Simon's right. We did see a lot of these back in Italia back in the days. Most draws that are arranged end 1-1, says Nigel. Yeah, like that accidental goal that comes in. Wasn't there one in the Euros? Was it Romania? It ended 1-1, got them both through to the next round. Can't remember who that was against, but it suited both at the time. Let's go back to the board. Rapid Vienna against FC Copenhagen. I quite like Rapid Vienna here. I think you could look at them either a little nibble on the money line or tie no bet. Main reason, they're right on the cusp of the top 8. So if they win, they're only going to need to overtake a couple of teams to get into the round of 16, which is obviously you bypass the playoff round then. And FC Copenhagen, just looking at their position in the actual standings, I think it's asking a lot for them to get into the top 8. So I just think maybe a bit of motivation. I think Rapid Vienna may be the best team in Austria. I've said it before. Their form is a little bit up and down. And I think it's the wrong favourite, actually. I think they should be maybe about plus 140 themselves here. So I would be looking at them. Molde against Mlada Boleslav. Very disappointed. Obviously, as a keen follower of Scandinavian soccer, that Molde have been really poor in this phase. They've got to win the match. And I thought about betting on them. I do think they'll win. One thing we do know, if they win, they will overtake Mlada Boleslav. They're going to need some other results to go their way. But the likelihood is they probably would qualify if they win. But goal difference might be a possibility here. So, I did look at Molde on handicaps. They're minus 186 on the money line. Handicaps -1 at minus 107. The weather forecast is not very good here in Molde this evening. Has strong winds, bit of rain around. Can Mlada Boleslav cope with that? Apoel coped pretty well when they went here recently. Molde sacked their manager a couple of weeks ago as well, so they're managerless at the moment. I think they'll win the game. I've got Molde down here 3-0. Is that a bit optimistic, do you think, James? Is that my Scandinavian bias coming into effect?
It might be, but listen, I'm not going to argue, Steve. You know a lot more about them than I do, so I'm sure whatever you've said is well thought out and well researched.
Nigel says the line will collapse on the draw very, very quickly if it's 0-0 after 15 minutes. So, Nigel's got his eye on this. It's alerted him in the Conference League. He's all sorts of radars are on alert here for that match. Lugano Pafos. I gave you this game to check out, James. I've not even looked at this one. But I know you used to follow the Swiss League a little bit. Plus 120 Lugano. Don't think they play the home matches at their own ground, do they? Off the top of my head. But Pafos plus 225 dogs here. How do you see it going?
Yeah, well, I think there's reasons to support Lugano, really. I mean, you're right. It's some way away as well. I think they're playing at Stockholm Park. It's a fair distance away from where they normally play their home games. But let's not forget, this is a team who are top of the Swiss League at the moment. Now, it's not the strongest league in Europe, but it's not the worst either. So they've done well over the course of the season so far. They did, we should say, take a hammering at home at the weekend in the league. They lost 4-1 at home to Lausanne, which was a bit of a shock result, given that they're top of the table. But they've done well in Europe as well. They're on 4 wins out of 5 so far. And if you look at their home results, they've been really good. They beat Ghent 2-0 and they beat HJK 3-0. So I think what plus 120, I kind of get it being plus money because it's not a real home venue. But I'm slightly tempted by that because, they're top of a better league than Pafos in the Cypriot League. The Swiss League is a stronger league. And as I say, they've done well over the course of the season, both in the league and in this competition. And they're not yet qualified. I mean, this is the thing. They're in a really good position on Lugano. They're 5th. So they could advance directly to the round of 16 by finishing in the top 8. But it's really close. If you look at how the league table is at the moment, Lugano in 5th on 12 points. You've got teams on 10 points all the way down to 11th. So I think the mindset of Lugano tonight will be to just go for the win here. Listen, let's get the win. Don't have to worry about whatever else happens. Let's try and put that massive defeat at the weekend behind us as well. If we get the win, we're going to be in the knockout phase, which would be a great position for them to be in. So I think they've got everything to play for. Obviously, that lack of a real home stadium is a problem. Pafos haven't done badly either. They've got 3 wins out of 5, and they've got everything to play for as well. So yeah, it's one of those really fascinating games. You've got 2 teams at plus money. I just lean a little bit towards Lugano. I think they can get the job done here. Plus 120 might be it might be too short for some people, but yeah, I think they would be my pick. I have to say, this game I think could be a good watch for anybody who is just interested in how it will go, whether you're actually watching the game or watching it on a stat site or something like that. It's one of those matches between 2 teams they're kind of made for this competition, aren't they? And they've really embraced it and done well. Yeah. So it's kind of what the Conference League is all about. And I think to have a game like this on the final match day of the group stage, I think is great for the competition because there's so much at stake.
Yeah, Stockholm Arena in Thun is actually where it's played at. That's miles away. I was actually there last summer. The Stockholm's a mountain. It's named after a mountain in the stadium. You get a great view over towards the Eiger, famous mountain in Switzerland there. But that is some distance from there where the city is located of Lugano. Djurgården against Lechia Warsaw. I actually quite liked Lechia here, mainly because Djurgården, the Swedish league's been done for over a month now. And they might be a little bit lacking match sharpness, but apparently Lechia are suffering an injury crisis heading into this game, which is why Djurgården are so short. This is another one of those games where, Djurgården need to win. Lechia might end up in the top 8 even if they lose the match. So they might as well go for it, Djurgården. I thought overs might be a good-looking bet here. But I do want to see how sharp Djurgården are. Last week they beat the Icelandic side, but it's difficult to judge. This is a tougher game in theory. But apparently the Polish outfit, Lechia Warsaw, are struggling. They know they're going to be in the next round in some form. It's just a question of how high. Maybe Djurgården evens could be a bet here. But it's team news dependent, really. But I would look at my lean for the game would be goals if I had to go here. Over 2.5 goals is at minus 150. I could see Djurgården. This being quite an open sort of fixture. A couple more games to talk about. Apoel Nicosia against Astana. I really like the Apoel here. I think minus 1.25 on the Asian handicap at minus 122 is well worth taking. This is an official bet of mine. Kazakhstan side Astana, known for being really poor travellers, rarely get anything away from home. And Apoel, if they win the game, they can get in the top 8, which would be fantastic for them. And they just need to win the match. So I don't want to be doing any more than a minus 1.25 Asian handicap. But I really do like the Cypriot side here. Beat Fiorentina last time out at home as well. That merits a lot of, big respect to them for beating Fiorentina at home. Fair play to Apoel Nicosia. I think it's going to be men against the boys here. Astana they're coming a long, long way. Any away match for them is horrific. They even lost against the Welsh side, TNS. So I think Apoel Nicosia on the handicap is well worth a go. There was a comment earlier in chat about Ghent could rack up a big number against Larn, according to someone, minus 715 on the money line. I've added them to my parlay, which I'm going to mention later. But put you on this game, James. Is this going to be a walkover for Ghent?
Yeah, I agree with that comment from earlier. Could be a big win for them. Larn are 36th out of 36 teams in this tournament. Already out of it. 5 games, 5 defeats, absolutely nothing to play for, and have been outclassed, really, haven't they? And Ghent are in pretty good shape. They've won 3 out of 5. They're not qualified yet. There's every reason why they'll be more motivated. I think Ghent on the Asian handicap are a great opportunity here. Their -2 Asian handicap line is priced up as minus 117. That would be my pick on the game. You're only going to lose if Ghent win the game by a single goal or don't win it. I think there's a great chance they win it by a couple of goals here, and a decent chance they go on and win it by more than 2 goals. So that would be my pick. It's Ghent on the Asian handicap -2, and that's at minus 117.
Stephen made a very interesting point there about Lawrence Shankland, anytime scorer against Petroclub for Hearts. I think I totally get what Gurney's saying as well. Petroclub are not going to be unmotivated for the game because bonuses are important, but they're just not that good, are they? That is worth mentioning as well in that game. I said to you earlier before we came on air, James, I'd love to get in the mindset of all the teams playing them in the conference, because there will be some on the beach
Yes.
There will be some heads on the beach today, but others, even if it might not look like they are going to be motivated, will be fired up because they're getting bonuses. That's where I'd love to know the insides. Astana traveling 6,000 kilometers. Is it that far? I knew it was a long way, but I didn't realize it was that far. They really have problems on the road. I'd be amazed if they got close to Apoel here. That will do it then. What a show, James. There was that Coupe de France match. Quick word on it. PSG. PSG. Really big tie early on.
Yeah, really. Well, so first thing I'd say is PSG will take it seriously. They try and win all the competitions they enter. So don't worry about that. They'll be up for it. They may rotate, but they'll be up for it. It will be a sellout crowd. Lens always get a sellout crowd anyway. Massive game for them. So if anybody's worried about motivation on that match, I wouldn't personally. I think it will be treated by both teams exactly like a League One match, and that makes it a bit easier for people to draw a view on how it will go. So I think PSG will win it personally. I've not looked at the prices yet, but I just was quite impressed with the way they've ended the year in League One. They've made sure they've got their points on the board. They beat Monaco, obviously 4-2 last night, and signs of one or two players who hadn't yet delivered. We're looking at you, Desiree Doué, who are starting to find some form now for PSG. Gives them a few more options if they do rotate, where they might still stay dangerous. So, yeah, as I say, not looked at the prices yet. A bit too early for me, but PSG, they should win it.
Nightmare draw for both. Lens are the sort of team who wouldn't have minded going for the Coupe de France this season, I don't think, but they've got to beat PSG straight up here in the first round that they're entering. Denver Broncos plus 2.5 points. As Shakespeare, that guy's been on fire in the NFL. Is Thursday night soccer as well. And before we go, that parlay that I did say, put it on screen there. I'm going with Ghent, Hearts, Celje, and Apoel, all on the money line, plus 150. I think all four of them teams will certainly win straight up. They've got pretty soft opponents. And that will be my Thursday parlay, which is becoming a bit of a regular thing. Thanks very much, James, for your time and efforts. It was a big show, putting all the effort into the Conference League. Best of luck, whatever you're taking today. Tomorrow, I'm back with Nigel Seeley on Betting Weekly Live. We're going to be looking ahead to the Usyk fight and also there'll be Friday soccer cards. So take care, everyone, and remember, gamble responsibly. We'll see you tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live.